Oh, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I would like to introduce you to Maria, but we'll go through that in a moment. We've got some people logging in. So welcome. Today it's all about family business. Maria, can you see the shared screen?
Yes, we can see that.
Excellent. All right, let's get going then. So firstly, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay my respect to the elders from past, present and emerging, and anyone who joins us from First Nations. But I'm streaming from Naarm, Melbourne, and we are on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation. So who am I? My name is Sara Pantaleo. I am a business coach and I mentor and coach businesses, but I'm also non-executive director on boards. These are some of the brands that I represent. And today, at the moment, I'm also the Vic and Tas Regional Director on Family Business Association. And I have owned my family business. I am speaking from first experience. And Maria is going to talk about her family business as well. So Maria, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Sara, and thanks for joining us, everybody. My name is McQuillan. I own and operate a finance broking business, so we do residential and business lending. And I started off my work career working with a family business. It was a pub here in Victoria, in Melbourne. We had 30 staff, and it was my mum, my dad, and myself that worked 7 days a week in that pub. So small business, family business is certainly something I've done a fair bit of.
Thank you very much. But, what is family business? The textbook tells us that it's an enterprise that involves two or more family members. Traditionally, there's a founder, in actual fact, the numbers tell us it was a man. Let's not sugarcoat it. Most family business owners are men, but we are getting a lot more women that are founding businesses these days, which is great. But, you might have a husband and wife team, you might have parents with kids, but really it's a family working together and they have shared values and a long-term commitment as well. But, you'd be surprised the types of businesses that are family businesses. Did you know the Wiggles are a family business? Anthony just introduced his daughter to the family business. She's taking over Kids Jumper. So for those of you that have small kids, you would understand. But they also come as big and small. Kennards is a very, very large family business in Australia, as is Dyson here in Victoria. They actually charter a lot of buses. Are you feeling an echo, Maria?
Slightly, but yeah. It's all right.
So, Family Business Association that I am a board member on, according to them, right, and surveys that have been done, Australia's businesses, 70% are family businesses. And it's estimated that 4.3 trillion of the economy. They look after a fair bit of wealth here, right? But usually what Family Business Association tells us is the family businesses outperform non-family businesses in terms of return on investment. But I want to take you through the elements of a family business, right? And I'm looking to the right, it's because the screen that I'm sharing is to my right. But basically, we've got the family, we've got the business, and we've got the ownership. And what can happen is that a family member can be in any one of these circles. And if you are number 7, you're a family member, you're one of the owners, and you're also working in business. But one of the different dynamics of family business is that you can actually be a family member, but not necessarily working in the business. You are only part of the family. You might be one. So it's really, really important to understand all of these different ones because, of course, if you're a family member that's not working in the business, you're going to have a different perspective than someone that is reading the business every day. And when we talk about succession planning for a family business, that plays a really big part of what happens. And the echo is really, really bad for me. I don't know about you, Maria, but
the echo is not too bad, but it's dropping out.
okay.
So some of your words are getting cut out.
Apologies, everyone. But what's really, really important to understand, sometimes when people are doing succession planning, they might do succession of management, but not of ownership, right? So the owner sometimes will sit on a board. So that's a number 5. So you might just be on a board. You might have the ownership, but you are not running the day-to-day. So at different times, whether you're a founder of a family business or you're a next generation, throughout the generation, you may take different roles in here. Number 2 is the non-family business employees. They're a really important part of family businesses because there's the decisions are made by the family for the business. How do they perceive the families running the business, and efficiencies is how we are able to retain and keep great employees, because you can't do it on your own. So it's really, really important to understand that. But what are the advantages of being a family businesses? Well, the history tells us that there is a more sense of purpose and identity because you have a connection to the family, therefore you have that connection to the business. There is a long-term vision because traditionally in a family business, we are looking at legacy, we are looking at stewardship to the next generation. And you know what? We trust our family members because we've known them from when they were little. So when you're getting a new employee into a business, you build trust and relationship over time. But because the families knows each other, that trust and loyalty is there from day one. There is also a flexibility in decision making, because you don't have that corporate structure sometimes of decisions getting stuck in bureaucracy. Also, potentially, I'll say potentially, because if the family dynamics isn't great, this is not good, right? So potentially for greater family cohesion and legacy preservation. But what are the disadvantages? And I have seen many of these family conflicts affecting businesses. And, you know, the family conflicts could be many. Could be family conflicts from people working in the business, not working in the business, or conflicting priorities of what we want for the family as opposed to what we want for the business. And, you know, sometimes the difficulty in separating the two. And obviously, there's sometimes conflict in the succession planning and the leadership transition. Whether it's because the previous generation needs to stay longer, or whether it's because they're not empowering the next generation before they take over and they throw them in. There can be many, many different factors. Also, I've seen nepotism firsthand, and it doesn't always go well. I'm going to try and close one window to see if I can see. No, it doesn't. Do you know where that's coming from?
No.
Yeah, okay.
Not sure.
I do apologize for that. And so basically sometimes I am the owner's sibling, you know, the son or the daughter. I work in the business. I may have no skills for that particular business. I mean, today we've got a few different businesses. We've got legal, hospitality, we've got a photography, we've got a few different businesses joining us today. But at the end of the day, just because you are the child or you are the sister or you are the brother, it doesn't mean you have expertise in that industry. if we don't invest in that, it can create a lot of problems. So I just want to talk to you a little bit about the research. There's been a lot of research done in family businesses, but of course, because I sit on the Family Business Association board, I want to share with you a survey that FBA did. I'm going to share you a couple of different surveys, but this one here is in relation to the sources of conflict that family businesses are saying that they're experiencing, right? So 21.8% of future leaders said that the communication style was a leading cause of conflict. And only 13.3% of the generation above them said the same thing. So obviously the incumbent generation has a different perspective than the generation that's running the business at the moment. And balancing the needs of family and business was another one, where the incumbents were at 17.3% and the future leaders were at 12.7%. So there can be a different perspective. And also in relation to the future vision of the business. It's really important what I'll say about this. I'm just highlighting it because this is what family businesses are telling us. It's really important that whatever it is, that communication piece with a different generation, it's so important that you're on the same page. And also, one of the things that family businesses aren't great at, I will be sending you a copy of the slides, by the way, after the webinar, so don't worry about copying anything down. But it also tells us that 50% of family businesses, a further survey that was done in 2017-18, had no plan around how the family members were to participate. And I can tell you firsthand, family businesses that I'm going to be working with at the moment, that we're doing a family charter for, they had position descriptions for every single employee, very large family business, but the 3 kids that work in the business, they don't have a position description. What do you think is going to happen, Maria, if you don't have a PD?
Everyone's going to be stepping on each other's toes, or they're going to be avoiding one of the two.
That's exactly right. So there's a lot of inefficiencies because they are going to be trying to work on the same things. But 54% had no retirement plan. I mean, the Murdochs are a classic, right? So Rupert just stepped down at 92 last week, right? So, I mean, some of these founders, they want to hang around for a while. But 43% no training in place for future leaders. So it's really, really important that we do it. And these are actual statistics from family businesses. So in 2021, FBA did another survey, and this is what they found about the 261 businesses were surveyed. And this is what they found about preparedness for succession. So the actual purple dot is a corporate company, and the actual bars are family businesses. And as you can see, the financial capacity to retire corporates are a lot better. And one of the issues with that is because family businesses keep a lot of their assets tied into their business. So you really need to do some forward planning in relation to that. But also sometimes, the ability to generate financial returns, as we can see, it's not as high as corporates, right? So you can see that here, family businesses have a long way to go. And the level of competency for potential successes, sometimes family businesses are not investing in it. I wanted to share that with you because it's really important to understand that even though you may think that you're ready, if you don't have a plan, you can't be ready. But how do we leverage the advantage of being in a family business? So best practice tells us that for a family business to leverage that advantage of that future planning and legacy, you need to have clear family values. And some of the ways you do that is by having a family council, having a family constitutional charter, or in some cases with a larger family business, having a family office. And that will serve family members that are working in the business or not working in the business. It can serve all the family members. But it is also very, very, very important to have a clear purpose and vision for the business, have a strategy and management meeting. So what we're doing here is understanding what's important to the family, but what we're also doing is understanding what's important for the business. And at the same time, having a really clear ownership strategy. Do we have shareholders meetings? Do we have shareholders agreement? Do we have an advisory board? Because as we transition from the generations, how are the owners going to stay connected to the business? As we transition to third and fourth. So when you've got first generation, right? You've got mum and dad with the kids. We're all having dinner together. You know, some of the negatives is that the business is discussed at the dinner table, but some of the positives, we've all got the same core values. We're all sitting at the dinner table together. But now, when we get to second, third, and particularly third and fourth generation, we might be a consortium of cousins, but we're not actually socialising together. So you've got to think about how do we keep those family values together if we don't have a family constitution and the rules on how do we introduce people in the family business? What do we do? Do we just allow any family member to come and work in a business and we make a role for them? Or do we have a really structured approach that we all agree on, that we either start them off at ground level and develop them and then assess who has the leadership, who would be the next leader, and we just develop their skills even further? Or do we say you cannot come into the family business until you've actually gone out, worked in the same industry, and then come back? One of the family businesses that I know very, very well, what they did, they were in poultry. They sent the next leader that was going to be the CEO over to England because they were doing genetics as well as growing the poultry. And he went and worked there for 12 months and then came back, and they were developing his skills to take over the family business. So whatever the rules are, there is no one set rule. Every family will do this different. That's okay. But do we have an agreement on how the family is going to operate, what's important to us, that when we're at the business, it is about the business viability, the business performance, and the ownership. We have a clear vision of what that looks like. That's really important, that all the three pillars are taken care of. You know, when the family meetings give an opportunity to articulate what's important. And one of the things that I do when I get family business together to think about the family constitution, we go away from the business. We go away from their family home. We go off somewhere else. And they decide who is going to take part of this, right? What is that going to be? What support do we want to give the family? What are the opportunities we want from a development to work in there? So we work out and brainstorm and evolve to what the family wants. And then we'll have a look and we'll create a list of rules, right? But even when you do, it is not set and forget. It's about revisiting that and understanding that it can change as the generations evolve. But having the meetings is really, really important, because a lot of families might be having the business meeting, they flow into family, then they don't have an action plan. That does not work. The family council is really about, now the family council doesn't have to be just family members that work in the business. In actual fact, sometimes the chair of the family council might be a family member that does not work in the business. But it is important to have a family council that would speak for the family members, that they have annual catch-ups or regular information about the business. So for those family members that aren't working in the business, how do they get the information of what's happening in the business? Because they might be getting some of the dividends. They might be the owners, or they might get some distributions through a family trust, right? So it's really important that you think about a family council as you grow in the generations. The family constitution and charter, I've already touched upon it. That lays out the rules on what we do. It has guidelines on how we govern our affairs. Now, understand this. The family constitution and charter is not a legal document. It is a document that the family agrees this is how we are going to behave. This is how we are going to operate as a family. These are the rules around that. And that's why it's important that we keep revisiting it and it's not set and forget. Obviously, with boards, most of you will understand, some have an advisory board, which is really like a think tank for the business. They have no voting powers. Some of them have a formal board, and that formal board might be the shareholders, and it might be an accountant, and it might be a lawyer, and it might be an industry expert. So if you're in training, so you might have someone who really understands training and where the future of training is going in the future. But what are some of the success factors that I want to share with you today? So, I mean, look, I've put some of the really big Australian businesses that are family businesses around that. We've got Hagues, AH Beard, Linfox, Coopers. These are all family business still today, right? But what's really, really important, I will say, and a lot of the surveys tell us, and good business, family businesses that are operating fourth, fifth generation, have a clear communication and a clear way of resolving conflict. And that might be in your family constitution. But in your business, it's the same as business. You need to ensure that there is great communication between family members, non-family members, and everyone in the business. They have a really clear vision. Because a lot of family businesses, they start, and in the first generation, you have one driving force and everyone follows. But as the generations go on, it can't keep going. That's why they say, you know, what is that saying? Something to shirt sleeves. There's a saying, I can't think of it, but there is a saying that you don't last over the third generation. You know, the first generation starts it, second generation enjoys it, the third generation blows it, right? I don't remember the exact saying, but it's really important. If you don't have a clear business vision that everyone's on board, the business will not continue. Adaptability and diversification. Just because you're a family business, it doesn't mean you don't stay in touch with what's happening in your industry. Good governance, good succession planning, good contingency planning. And you'll get this, right, having the family council and preparedness. But I'll say this about family businesses. If you want to create a legacy, think about stewardship and think about that family businesses, really, we are the stewards for this generation, and we have to keep it going to the next generation. And if we think ourselves as a steward, then we think about sustainability of the future of the business. Now, I apologize, sorry. So that's all I've got on the information. What I wanted to talk to you about is actual family business stories. So Maria's going to talk about her family business. I'm going to talk to you about one of my clients. I'll talk to you about myself, right, when I joined La Porchetta, right? When I joined La Porchetta, it was really interesting because my brother was very autocratic kind of leadership, right? That's all he knew. Italian style, high D, very direct. And I joined the family business. And in actual fact, that's when I decided I need to join Family Business Association, because they've got amazing courses that are really bespoke for family businesses. And basically it was like, do this, do this, do this. And I had the obligation as a sister. He was my older brother. I had to listen to him, and I didn't really question much of it. But I came from the corporate world of IT. So I had a lot of experience in that I could give back. And it took me a very long time. We had absolutely no structure. It was 2 Italian families running the business early in the piece, and there was absolutely no business structure. It was just a very successful business, great restaurant chain that was very successful, but internally there was no structure. There was no communication. So we started implementing some of these things, and I did it at my level, pushing up. And I learned that I had to be assertive and stand for myself as a sibling. But when I was at work, I was not his sister. And it actually took a big mindset, because we have a lot of obligation in family businesses, and it took a long time to break through that. That wasn't a great example, right? And Maria, do you want to share about your family business?
This is some years ago now. My parents always had small businesses, and my parents generally worked in the businesses. And as I got older, I used to go in and help. But then they bought a pub when I was 17, and I started working in the, especially part-time while I went to university. I pretty quickly changed my university studies to part-time and ended up working full-time in business. With my dad, my mother, and myself. My brother didn't want to work in the business, and we did ask him many times, but he refused to. We also had about 30 staff. And my mum ran the kitchen, my dad looked after the pub. So my dad looked after the cellar and the bar, and I oversaw staffing, suppliers. I also worked behind the bar in the bottle shop. I did a bit of everything, so equipment, hiring, firing, all that sort of stuff. My parents didn't have, and I was too young and naive to understand the need for setting up certain structures. So we all jumped in and did everything. We all sort of got involved in each other's business. But the key thing for us is our communication with one another was good. So if we disagreed with certain things in the business, we would argue about it. Of course, the staff would hear it. That can be quite disengaging, awkward for staff, and we didn't put certain structures in place in order to be able to get to the point of stewardship for the next generation. My father, the pub was doing really well. With 30 staff, 70,000 meals a day, it was doing quite well. And at one point, my dad said, let's find more pubs and duplicate this business model. It was quite a unique business model. But we weren't able to put in place the structures that were required for growth. And I ended up resigning from the family business, and at that point, my parents sold it. Because we couldn't come together as a team of leaders within the business. We were too stuck in family behaviour. And I think it's really important to also, if you want to get to be able to make it a family business for generations to come, all this infrastructure that you talked about, Sara, is key. Otherwise, there's no longer going to be.
Sorry, your voice is not very clear. It might be your internet. What was the last comment?
Because we couldn't put into place a lot of the structures that you talked about, we couldn't create longevity in the family business.
Yes, you couldn't create that legacy because of the structures. And Look, and I'll be honest with you, one of the clients that I've been working with, husband and wife team, we're preparing their succession plan. And one of the things that's hurting their succession plan is that they are so involved in the business. And, you know, I will say this. It's no different to what actually happens when you're running a business, right, and you don't develop your team. If you don't develop your team, it is really difficult for you to step away from your business. And this husband and wife team, we put in a GM, but they kept allowing the teams to come in and go over them. And it was really difficult because they weren't empowering the GM. So it is really important to have the family structure and to have that business structure. You need both. But does anyone have any questions? Just chuck them into Q&A, please. No. All right. So we'll look at it this way. We'll let you go early. I'm just going to let you know that we are running another webinar on succession in October. And then in November, we're running one on small businesses being able to go on holidays. And that's going to be all about empowering your team and creating a business where you can actually work on strategy and not on day-to-day. So if you would like to join us, we will send you the links in the follow-up. You'll get a copy of the actual sheets after the meeting. Maria, did you have any final comments?
And my final comment would be, I think a key thing is about having that vision of stewardship. And if you have that vision in family business, then I guess that's the motivation for putting that infrastructure in place. So I think it all starts with that vision. Agreed.
Thank you very much for joining us. We've just given you just under half an hour back. So have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye.